Welcome back, my fellow watchers. It looks like we've almost made it to the end of the classic era, and we're ready to kick things off with Season 7, the final season directed by David Mitton, and the first season produced by Hit Entertainment. Oh, and also the second and last season in the Ghislaine era. Now, before we get started, I have some things to say about this season. The UK versions use the original music by Mitton Jr., and the US versions... Wait! Oh god, I hate the US version of Season 7. The main reason why? It's because the music from Season 8 replaces the original Season 7 music, which totally feels out of place, and that's how Hit Entertainment screwed up this season for US fans. Also, to quote Gordon, "Classic series episodes and hit era music do not mix." So basically, I prefer the UK dub of Season 7. Now don't get me wrong, I like Michael Brandon as Thomas narrator, but I only prefer his narrations in hit era seasons, and I mean the true hit era seasons, which are seasons 8 through 11, while seasons 12 through 16 are considered as the Miller era. Although there were 3 episodes from Season 7 that Michael Brandon narrated with the original music by Mitton Jr., which are the ones that were used in the Thomas and the Jet Engine VHS from 2004. And also, there were 4 episodes from this season that Michael Angelis narrated for American releases, such as the ones that were used on the VHS of New Friends for Thomas and other adventures. Honestly, I wish we got more Michael Angelis US dubs for this season. That way we would have still had the Mitton Jr. music in most of the episodes from this particular season. Anyways, this season introduced us to some new characters such as Emily, Fergus, Arthur, Murdoch, and Spencer. Okay, off we go. Time to start ranking the episodes from the final season of the classic era.
Emily could see that Oliver had broken down on the crossing. Then Emily heard Thomas's whistle. He could see Oliver, and he knew he could never stop in time. Oh! Emily charged towards Oliver, and with a huge effort, pushed him across the tracks. Just in time. "Percy!" cried Thomas. Thomas was very happy to see his friend. "I'll have you out in no time," said Percy. Percy puffed and pulled and pulled and puffed, and finally Thomas and his driver were free. "Oh, thank you," said Thomas. "I'm glad to be useful," smiled Percy. "Look out!" cried Fergus, and he rushed forward and bumped Bill and Ben out of the way. His driver jumped to safety as the rocks began to fall, but Fergus was covered in rocks right up to his funnel. It took a long time to dig him out, and no one worked harder to help than Bill and Ben. At last, Fergus was free. He rolled slowly up to the edge. The bridge creaked loudly. The river seemed deeper than ever. "I must rescue my friend," whispered Skarloey. He chuffed slowly onto the bridge. The bridge groaned as he rolled forward, but Skarloey puffed on. Finally, his driver coupled up. and pulled Rheneas to safety. And they raced off to the rescue. The musicians were delighted to see their old friend. So was Bertie. "I'll get you to the concert in time," Edward cried. "Thank you," said the worried bandsman. Soon Henry was mended and back at work. "You're looking so much better," said Emily. "Well, they've mended me tubes, but they didn't even look at me brakes, me gauges, me squeaky wheels. All in good time, Henry." Poor Henry. Then there was trouble. The tall funnel of the old barge crashed through a pipe. James was sure he'd get covered in sludge, but he didn't. "Shiny and clean, he declared again. The workmen soon cleared the mess, and then James was on his way. He arrived safe and sound, pleased that the dirty work was done. "I'd be proud to," replied Peter Sam. Now the refreshment lady serves tea at all her favourite places. At Woodland Way, the Old Castle Causeway, and Whispering Waterfall. Peter Sam is a happy engine. "I told you it would be a piece of cake." "We'll show him," they giggled. "He can't push us around." Arthur struggled over bridges, and he huffed and puffed through tunnels. He came over the top of a big hill. "You can't catch us," laughed the freight cars. "Whee!" But there was trouble ahead. Duck had stopped at the crossing at the bottom of the hill. Arthur's driver applied the brakes, but it was too late. Squashed fruit flew everywhere. Arthur was upset. His spotless record was ruined. Toby watched as the work began. It took a long time, but at last the new windmill was completed. The Fat Controller was most impressed. The miller was grateful. "Thank you, Toby. Your idea saved my windmill." Toby beamed happily. But the hours passed. It grew dark and cold, and still no help had come. Suddenly, the twins spotted something strange through the mist. "What's that?" called Donald. "Is it the monster?" cried Douglas. "For sure it is," answered Donald. "It's not. It's us." It was Harvey in the breakdown crane. Donald and Douglas were relieved. Rheneas whooshed down the mountain like a roller coaster. The children cheered. Rheneas puffed up the rocky ridge with all his might. His carriage clattered and bumped and bounced along behind, and the children oohed and ahed. Rheneas chuffed and puffed as hard as he could. He steamed across the trestle bridge. He was going so fast the teacher nearly lost her hat. Rheneas splashed under a waterfall. The children laughed happily, and the teacher covered her eyes.
Fergus's flywheel was attached to the generator shaft. Without the lighthouse, the ship was steaming towards the rocks. Fergus was working as fast as he could. Finally, the generator came back to life. The lighthouse beam shone across the stormy sea once more. Just in time! Hard to starboard, matey! Salty's idea had saved the day. Fergus worked hard until first light.
Soon Oliver was loaded and on his way. The snow was cold. It had frozen the points and diverted Oliver into the station sidings. "Oh, shiver my boiler," cried Oliver. His driver applied the brakes. "Is there a problem, Mr. Oliver?" "Yes, there is." That could have been a little smoother. Oliver felt awful. He thought the children would be upset about their snowman. Thomas steamed as fast as he could along the line. But there was trouble ahead. Some faulty points sent his trucks one way, and Thomas onto the old pier rail. The trucks were delighted. "He's fallen in the water!" Luckily, Thomas wasn't hurt and the fish truck stayed on the tracks. Suddenly, a tractor trundled across Duncan's line. "Look out!" shouted his driver. "Slow down!" whistled Rusty. "I can't!" Duncan cried as he shot past. Elephant Park loomed ahead. Duncan's driver applied the brakes, but it was too late. The statue flew through the air and landed in the lake. Luckily, nobody was hurt. The sheep were becoming noisier and noisier. "Please stop," groaned Murdoch. "I'd rather be back with the chatterbox engines." Just then, Toby chuffed into view. "Toby!" exclaimed Murdoch. "We're certainly glad to see you." Before long, the farmer and his dog went to work. And the sheep were soon safely back in their field. And Murdoch was on his way again. Then it happened. "It's an engine!" he cried. "Fergus!" whistled Thomas. "Whatever are you doing out here?" "Hiding. Don't want to work at the smelters. The Fat Controller is going to be cross with me." "He's not," cried Thomas. "He's worried about you." "Really?" "Of course," puffed Thomas. Fergus felt better.
Trevor was pulling a hay cart. "Get out of my way!" He overtook Trevor. Bulgy swerved. The hens woke up. The passengers panicked. And Bulgy's driver lost control. The hens were frightened. They flapped, they squawked. Stop! Cried Bulgy's passengers. We want to get off! The passengers were covered in feathers and broken eggs. They were very cross. This bus is full of hens, they complained. We shall tell Sir Topham Hatt. It's not my fault, sulked Bulgy. We need to hurry, whistled Thomas. The party is about to begin. And he steamed away. Soon Harold's pilot had fitted Harold's sling under Pegasus. Then Harold gently lifted him into the air and carefully carried him across the fields. When Percy saw Pegasus flying through the sky, he was amazed. Well, flatten my funnel so horses can fly after all. The children cheered for Harold. He had saved the day.
The balloon's going to land in the tree, cried Skarloey. And it came down right in front of Skarloey. There's the Fat Controller. My hat is ruined, cried Lady Hat. So is mine, said the Fat Controller. Don't worry, called Skarloey's driver. We'll soon have you down. Am I glad to see you, Skarloey? Thank you, sir. Before long, Sir Topham and Lady Hat were safely on the ground. Soon it was time for the decorating. Percy's driver was wrapping streamers and flags around his funnel. Thomas had a big red banner on his tanks. Even Murdoch was being decorated, although he was very shy about it. We could have a competition for the best-dressed engine, suggested James. Just then, Gordon shunted in. A competition? He puffed. I'm bound to win any competition. You'll have to be decorated, said James. This is a best-dressed engine competition. Not me, puffed Gordon. You'd never catch me looking so ridiculous. Spencer showed the Duke and Duchess many beautiful places. But he never stopped once to take on more water. Gordon and Thomas were collecting passengers when Spencer raced through on his way to the party. Don't forget the water! Who cares? He'll be in trouble soon, sighed Thomas. The Fat Controller's counting on me. I mustn't be late. She chuffed on to the icy road. Suddenly, she was on a steep hill. Her driver applied the brakes. Elizabeth slid out of control into a deep snowdrift. Poor Elizabeth. Soon the little diesel reached the old wooden bridge. Duncan had never looked so scared. Rusty chuffed bravely onto the bridge. Careful, gasped Duncan. Soon they were coupled up. Hold on, said Rusty. Oh! Shouted Duncan. The little diesel pulled him off the bridge just in time. The next day, Bertie and the medal winner arrived with a surprise for Thomas. A small boy presented him with a gold medal on a red ribbon. You were very helpful at Sports Day. So we thought you should have a medal of your own, added the boy. My very own medal, said Thomas. Thank you. 3 cheers for Thomas, the #1 engine. But I still won the race, tooted Bertie. Thomas just peeped happily.
Jolly good show. Now that we've finished all of the seasons of this really useful era, I'll be making some final arrangements before closing out on this video. My personal favorite episodes from each season are Season 1, Thomas and Bertie's Great Race, Season 2, Percy's Ghostly Trick, Season 3, Thomas, Percy and the Dragon, Season 4, Thomas and Stepney, Season 5, Thomas, Percy and Old Slow Coach, Season 6, Thomas and the Jet Engine, and Season 7, Gordon and Spencer. I would like to give a special thanks to all the narrators that capture the hearts of our childhoods: Ringo Starr, George Carlin, Alec Baldwin, Michael Angelis, and Michael Brandon. One last thing, let's have a moment of silence for George Carlin and Michael Angelis, who both sadly passed away in 2008 and 2020. Mr. Carlin and Mr. Angelis, even though you two are no longer with us, you have captured so many hearts for Thomas fans for both the US and the UK. Thank you both for being part of our childhoods. Rest in peace. I'm sorry. Alright, this has been Richard Hibbert's rankings of the Thomas and Friends Classic Era. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you liked this video, feel free to leave a comment below. This is Richard Kobe Hibbert, signing off, and I'll see you all next time.